That radio chick Cheryl Lee here. Welcome to the Still Rocking It podcast, where we'll have music, news reviews and interviews with some of our favourite Australian musicians and artists. Today we're excited to catch up in the Zoom room with Dellacoma Rio. Not only does he front the Australian INXS Tribute Show with an uncanny portrayal of Michael Hutchence that captivated audiences worldwide, but his own band, Dellacoma, is also releasing more new music. Just a genuine, nice young man. Hope you enjoy getting to know Dellacoma Rio. To catch up on podcasts from other favourite artists, simply go to thatradiochick.com.au. You're with Cheryl Lee, That Radio Chick, and I'd like to welcome into the Zoom room today Dellacoma, or as we know him, Dell, from... Now, what is the official name? We don't want to confuse you with anybody else. You are from the Australian INXS Tribute Show?
That is correct, yes.
That's always good, isn't it? Now, the first and I think last time I've ever only seen you guys was actually on Rock the Boat, not last year, the year before.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was us.
Yeah, that was awesome. We went with quite a posse, as we quite often do, and they all said, we have to have these guys come to Adelaide. It didn't happen overnight, but you're coming.
We are. We're coming. We're coming to the Adelaide Entertainment Centre. So they say go big or go home. So we're finally coming to Adelaide, and it's a big one.
Yay. I'm hoping that we might be able to just backtrack a little bit before we go forward, because we don't actually know much about you, Del. Like, is music in your DNA? When did you realise that music was going to be your passion, your life?
It actually, it happened fairly late in life, I think, for me, because my parents have always been singers, just around the home and everything. And I grew up in an a cappella church. So singing was always something that, as long as I can remember, everybody sings. That was just something that was just kind of normal, I guess, if you will. I was a junior tennis player, and I actually went to the US on a tennis scholarship. Long story short, I had some physical issues and had to take a bit of a left turn and got into acting. And that led me to LA. I did a few things in LA. And then when I was 25, I thought I was too old for the entertainment industry. And I moved back to Australia after a couple of years of doing quote unquote normal job. I was like, man, I got to get back into performing. That bug was just still there. So that's when I decided to give music a go as a more of a professional thing, because it's always been, when I was younger, music was just something you did. In my head, everybody did music. And then you had what you did for a career. So, yeah, I joined a band who was produced by Anton Haggip, who's worked with Powderfinger. And we did an EP, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. And ever since I've been performing with my own music, people have always said I look and move like Michael when I'm on stage. I'd always said that I wasn't going to do a tribute, and I've said no to a few tributes. And then this one came along, and we kind of sat down and had a chat. It was just one of those things where it's like, well, if you're going to do it, then go all the way and do it big, right?
Exactly. What was your plan B temporary career?
So I've done almost every job under the sun. But when I was in Sydney, I was operations manager for a eco-friendly household cleaning products company called Murchison Hume. I mean, they're still going today. They're in David Jones and Meyer and I'm sure and all that sort of stuff. I was I was the first employee of the company, and then the company kind of expanded while I was there and ended up in sort of more of a management role. My bosses, who was the creators of the company, they'd always fully supported me doing music and everything. But the company had grown to the point after a couple of years to where they were like, we need you to be, our right-hand man. You've been right-hand man all the way along, and now we've got a bunch of employees, and we need you here more often. And I was like, but I want to tour. I want to do.
Star.
Yeah. So I made a promise to myself I would follow this path until I didn't want to do it anymore, because I think no matter what it is you do in life, I think, regret only kicks in when you really want to do something and you believe you can, but you choose not to because either you're scared or
Something holds you back.
yeah, something holds you back. And I was like, at the time, I was like, there's no reason why I can't do this. It's just my own fear that's holding me back. And so I decided that this was going to be my main career focus until I didn't want to do it anymore.
You could always go back and be a hotshot CEO later if you want.
Yeah, that's right?
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
Time for an INXS song, I reckon. Never Tear Us Apart, but let's hear Delta Goodrum and Josh Teskey's version, and then we're back to speak some more to Del.
I'll never go out from your tears. I told you that we can fly.
I'm hearing an accent there. Did you pick that up in America, or are you actually where are you from?
I was homeschooled in Tasmania. My mum is from Brisbane and my dad's from Dallas. People often do attribute my accent. They go, oh, well, you spent time in America. You went to university over there. I've kind of always had this mottled hodgepodge accent. And I think it does come from having parents in the home that had different accents and being homeschooled. That's who I'm spending the majority of my time around.
Exactly. So a bit from mum and a bit from dad and not so much from the schoolyard.
Exactly. Yeah.
You actually are quite a late bloomer, but there's no going back now, right?
Absolutely no going back now. No, this course is set. This path before me is definitely there. And there's definitely been times along this journey where I've thought, oh man, like, the gigs aren't coming in or you're not quite making enough. But I've kind of gotten to a point in my life where, everybody, well, not everybody, I guess I should say, but like there's a lot of people at times in life, they need a secondary job to bring in a little bit of extra income. And I've definitely had those points in my life, where you have a secondary part-time income or whatever. But this is my main passion and my main focus. I'm at heart a storyteller. This is the way that I've chosen to tell stories. And one of the most beautiful things about the INXS Tribute Show, which I guess I didn't expect when I started doing it, because I've always done my own music, right? In doing the tribute show, when you look out on the audience, you can actually see people's faces when a song that you play or something you do on stage triggers a memory. And you can actually see that on their face. You have no idea what the memory is. It could be good, it could be bad. You have no idea, right? But you can see that trigger. And it's pretty cool to be able to be a part of remembering and that part of their life that they may or may not have interacted with in a very long time.
Yeah, that nostalgia, it is really powerful. And as I said, there are a few INXS bands around. I've seen a couple of them. But for some reason, there's something different about you guys. And if I had to try and put my finger on it, I would say that it is the absolute energy that you bring to the show. Not trying to be Michael, but being Michael-esque with energy and vitality and that stage presence. Were you always a fan of Michael?
Funny you asked that question, because I was asked that SBS actually did a special on nostalgia. They actually called me up. I was part of that special, and it was all aspects of nostalgia. I was kind of, I guess, representing the music part of it. They asked me that exact question, were you always a fan? My honest answer was I was, but INXS wasn't a part of my growing up, because I'm dating myself now, but that's fine. I was 15 when Michael passed away. Their peak was sort of, late 80s, early 90s. And that's when I was kind of, between 7 and 11. And my parents weren't really into INXS. So I knew who they were, but they didn't really influence me growing up. It was something that I retrospectively looked into, because I used to have shorter hair, and then I grew my hair out a little bit, and people go, oh, who you look like? If I had a bit of stubble, people go, oh, with the stubble, you know who you look like, Or, if I put my hair back in a ponytail, people go, oh, you know who you look like? I knew that they had impacted a lot of people. And I knew, they were kind of one of those bands for me growing up. I kind of missed Bon Jovi as well. They're another band that I kind of retrospectively got into. I knew who they were, but because I kind of was too young for their heyday and my parents weren't really into them, they were just kind of one of those bands that anywhere you go, there's a song like, oh yeah, I know that song.
Still Rocking It podcast with that radio chick Cheryl Lee. Time for an INXS song, I'd say. How about Need You Tonight? Apart from on their album 1987's Kick, it was also featured on the Coyote Ugly album. Then we're back to speak to Dell.
This is Andrew Farris, and you're with that radio chick, Cheryl Lee.
Got to let you know, I've got to let you know, you're one of my kind.
You touched on the energy part, and I think something that has helped me without really realizing it stand out in this space is the fact that I initially came on as a fill-in. So the band was around. They were one of the 4 or 5 that are doing Melbourne. I think there's 10 or 12 that are kicking around Australia at any given time. I'd gotten to a point where I was like, oh, maybe I will do a tribute or a cover or my music never really took off in Australia, so I've got to go overseas, right? Which is awesome, but it's also very taxing on family.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find a way to play in Australia more regularly. So I auditioned and it didn't really work out. Maybe 9 months later, they called me up again and they said, hey, our singer's just pulled out of a show and it's next month. Do you reckon you could fill in? Because we've already got contracts signed and yada, yada. And I was like, man, what's the set like? And they gave me, 20 songs or something. And I was like, far out. I don't know if I can learn all of these and the moves and all that kind of stuff. So I made the choice back then. I was like, okay, people have always said, and this is across the world, US, UK, Belgium, when I go and play my music, I'll have some random come up and say, you know who you remind me of? And it's either Michael Hutchence or it's Mark Wahlberg from Rockstar. I said, okay, I don't have the time to learn all the moves. In my head, a tribute, it's kind of like an acting role. In my head, I was like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to learn the music. And I'm just going to let the music do to me what it does to me naturally. And it makes sense to me that if me playing my music, people say I'd look and move a bit like Michael. If I'm singing Michael's music, it makes sense that it would move me in a similar way that would move him.
And naturally, not choreographed, just naturally.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something that I think is a point of difference. I mean, I haven't spoken any of the other singers of other tributes, so I don't know their process. And I make a real point during the show of saying, I know that we are not INXS, and I'm not trying to be Michael, but I hope that through the performance, I can help you feel the way that Michael made you feel or INXS made you feel. That's my goal. And I've had a lot of positive feedback from people going, I was trying to pick you apart. Michael didn't have a nose ring and he didn't have tattoos and, there's this and there's that and everything, but there's still something about the way that you do it that makes me feel the same way. And I go, well, then I've done my job then.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. When we were on Rock the Boat, we were like, where is he? You were running up and down beside the pool. I thought, you're going in any minute up the stairs. And
I actually put the net over the pool because I made a joke halfway through. I was like, oh, maybe I'll jump in the pool. And sure enough, 10 minutes later, they put the net across the pool.
But it's so true. We just love, and thank you for doing it, we just love the opportunity to hear that fabulous music played live again by a great band. It's a 6-piece band. You've got a great video show that goes with it to bring us even more memories. And is this right that you guys have toured this to Dubai, India, Hawaii, Tahiti, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Vanuatu, Singapore, Japan, China, Bora, New Caledonia, Taipei and South Korea?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And all of that happened in a very short space of time, just pre-COVID. And that's why it was like when we kind of came out of the COVID era, we had all of this. We were like, do we go to pubs? Like, how do we do this in a pub? Like, even on Rock the Boat, right? Because that was kind of like a pub gig in a way. We've got the video show. We created the show, like something that we thought would be a point of difference is if we created what we thought possibly INXS would have done if they were still around today and making use of modern technology. So the whole video show, that's something we've created. That's not copyrighted material. We've created unique original videos for all of the songs because we felt like if INXS was still playing stadiums and the like today, they would make use of modern technology.
Oh, right? They would.
In the same way that, AC/DC and Def Leppard and all the bands from that era, like U2, when they play in stadiums now, they've got all the videos and all of that. So
and gunners, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and we've tried to recreate, we call it a Wembley-style experience. The set list is not the Wembley set list, right? We have some songs that weren't in the Wembley set list, but we use that wording specifically because when people think of INXS and kind of their, I guess, if you will, the pinnacle, it's them selling out Wembley twice. So if you were in 2025 seeing INXS in Wembley, what would it be like? We've allowed our imagination to run, and the guys have been absolutely amazing. I mean, they've learned everything note for note. That gives me a platform to be able to do what I do, because I know that they're going to be bang on every single time.
They are.
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
Well, I can't wait any longer to play you some music from Dell. At the end of last year, his band Dellacoma released their cover of Audio Slave's track Like a Stone from their studio album to be released in 2025. It's a beautifully haunting acoustic version. I hope you enjoy it, and then we're back to speak some more to the man himself, Del Rio.
I'll wait for you there, like a stone.
Is it right that it's an 18-month tour?
It's longer now. So we started this end of February 2023.
Wow.
We've just booked our first show in Devonport in Tasmania, and we booked a return to Hobart in January of 2026. That's going to be entering the 4th year. Now, we've taken a couple of breaks in there because I've released some of my own music, so we've kind of had to slot that in. But aside from that, it's pretty much just been going out. Yeah, and we've been back to a couple of places, but we're still going to new places. I mean, Adelaide is one of those. We've been to about, I can't even remember where the name of it was, but it's about an hour outside of Adelaide. But we haven't actually been to Adelaide proper until April. Last year was the first time we'd gotten to Darwin. We got to Alice Springs. We're getting to Kalgoorlie and Esperance out in WA for the first time this year. We're getting to a bunch of places in New South Wales that we haven't been to. It's been absolutely mental, like the response and kind of sitting there going, man, this was something. We're sitting there in 2022 going, there's not a whole lot of gigs. What do we do? And we just decided to take a punt. And here we are in February 2025. I'm looking at my calendar for mid-2026.
Still going so strong. Get onto the Googleometer, people. Find out when they're coming near you. Where will they find all those dates?
Our website is oztributeshow.com.au. So oztributeshow.com.au. As a distinction, so we're the Australian INXS Tribute Show featuring Dellacoma Rio, which is me. So there's, as we've said before, there's plenty out there and they're all doing it in their own way. This is the way that we do it. So if you want to see the way we do it, look for me. Yeah, I'll be there.
They can also keep up with what's going on the Facebook page. And is there an Insta as well?
Yes, there is. And both of those, Australian INXS Tribute Show featuring Dellacoma Rio. And if you look me up, I've got links to stuff as well.
I also noticed that you're doing Rockfest in July in the US.
Yes. So that's with my original band. We're releasing a new album this year, and we've done festivals in the US before, and that was all pre-COVID and everything. And that kind of, I focused on the INXS show for sort of 2 years before COVID and then since COVID, but I finally got it back off the ground, my original show. So we're releasing songs all the way through this year, releasing a new album towards the end of the year. And we're playing festival in July in the US with a bunch of big name acts, Rob Zombie being one of those, Five Finger Death Punch, Sick Puppies, which are actually an Australian band as well. It's a massive festival. Last count, I think it was like 78,000 people. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Do you need an assistant?
My wife is tagging along this time. She's agreed to run merch for me.
Awesome.
Come over. And
I could be her assistant.
Exactly.
Right.
You can be her assistant. I'll get my people to talk to your people. And we could just create a big entourage, the Australian invasion.
That sounds good. And I must say, if you ever need a tambourist, I'm your woman.
Oh, you were right there. I do have tambourine in a couple songs, so you never know. You might be in for a gig.
I knew it. Still Rocking It podcast with that radio chick, Cheryl Lee. Another quick INXS song, this time with one of my other favourites, Jimmy Barnes. Good Times. And this is from the Lost Boys original motion picture soundtrack from 1987. Then we're back to say goodbye to Dell.
And this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put a call to you, 'cause I feel good tonight.
I'm glad you started talking about your solo projects as well. There's just been recently a couple of singles come out. So you can go and see the videos on the YouTube channel.
Yes.
Yep, they're very cool. And you can buy them from all the usual suspects.
Yep. So I've got vinyl of my last album available. I had Tracy Guns from Guns N' Roses actually play the solo on one of the first single off of my last album, and I've got a few surprises in store for this next record. But we've dropped the first single, which is More Than Survival. And then we just dropped Like a Stone Christmas. And then we've got You Heard It Here First. Our next single is going to come out 28th of Feb. So we haven't actually announced that yet, but that'll be the next one that's coming out. In talks to come to Adelaide. We actually got an offer to come to Adelaide. I think it was this week or next week. I couldn't make it work with my schedule. So it's on the cards to come to Adelaide. We've got Dellacoma's done Queensland, we're about to do New South Wales. We've done Victoria and Tasmania. So Adelaide's next on the cards.
I was going to ask that. Any sign of Dellacoma on their way here? So that's the scoop. You did hear that first here.
That is the scoop. We're on X Music label, and one of our label mates is a band called Audio Rain. They're actually based out of Adelaide. So we're kind of just working out details to try and come over and play a show with them over there in Adelaide.
With Jake and the boys.
Yes, with Jake and the boys. There you go.
I just interviewed Jake for the telly like a couple of weeks ago. Oh, that'll be so exciting.
Yeah.
Maybe if you guys have got half an hour when you are here, I could interview you for the telly too.
Absolutely. Yeah. We need to line that up.
Yeah, again, your people speak to my people, tee that up.
Make sure that we've got plenty of tambourines available.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like there's exciting things coming on the horizon. We really thank you for spending some of your precious time today just looking here how busy you are. We are grateful that you spent a bit of time with us in the Zoom room today, and we are counting off the days on our calendar for when we get to see you here in our entertainment centre. One more quick question for you, because you're such big rock stars. What is it that is a non-negotiable on your rider for the green room? Do we have any Spinal Tap requests?
You know, it's funny. We've got random requests, but non-negotiable, honestly, it sounds super lame, but it's literally just a steamer.
A steamer? I haven't had that one before.
Because we wear full whites. Like, this sounds really silly, but the amount of times, you'll be backstage getting ready and you grab the iron, talking to somebody, and you put the iron down, and then you're like, oh my goodness, now there's a black mark on my white. And then you're in a mad panic an hour before the show, trying to get something to replace that or get the stain out or turn it inside. It's one of those things that I try not to be too rock starry about it, but I'm always like, oh.
I don't have a steamer. I'm not going on.
Steamer available? It'd be great if there was one.
Yeah.
It's okay if there's not, but can you do it?
Steamers are a girl's best friend. I've just learned today that they're also a rock star's best friend.
They are a rock star's best friend. Can I tell you, for vocalists out there as well, super dangerous. So don't try this at home, kids. But if you are having some vocal issues, you turn it on and you can't get too close because you don't want to burn yourself. But you can breathe in the steam as well. Kind of helps with warming up.
Awesome. Again, thank you for your time today. I'm going to let you get back to your busy schedule. Can't wait to see you with Audio Rain as well as Dellacoma, because I haven't seen you guys before. So that's something to look forward to.
Well, thank you so much for your time as well and for having us, and looking forward to seeing you at the Entertainment Centre in April.
I'll see you down the front. When you came, I was just trying to get the number for my ticket. I think it's because I booked the second I saw it. So I think hubby and I are in the front row, so we'll give you a wave.
Yes, amazing.
And, we'll talk to you a little bit about the TV as well prior to then.
That'd be great.
Alrighty. Thanks, Del.
Take care.
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
Let's go out with the other single, More Than Survival, with its huge vocal harmonies, driving riffs and emotive guitar fills. More Than Survival harks back to a time when songs like this were all over the radio. The band says the song is about recognising that you've spent a long time in survival mode and are wanting more than that, wanting to actually thrive. Sometimes life can get hard, but we're resilient as humans, and if you hang in long enough, the sun starts to shine again. This song is about deciding that you want more from life than just getting by. You're with Cheryl Lee, that radio chick. Thank you so much for joining me on the Still Rocking It podcast. Hope to catch you again next time. Get out when you can, support Aussie music, and I'll see you down the front.